Hey,
You're
good
not.
morning, everyone. As you come in, it is the Sick of the Show with Nick Parrow, Frederick Poe coming in to guest host with me, and our good friend Walter Rhein, master of the
So
notes. And
yeah,
today, I'm actually going to try and talk about notes with
yeah.
Walter,
Let's do that. Let's do
um,
that.
because every time we get on, he and I are like, "Yeah, we're going to talk about notes," and then we
Yeah.
never talk about notes. Um, or it's always like, yeah, Walter wrote this really cool note, and then we talk about everything else, but not the note itself. So, Walter, good morning. How are you? Before we talk about notes, how are you today, my friend?
Yeah. Oh, we're already sidetracked. No, I'm doing good. I got out. I went out to do. I took my daughter. She does youth court, so I just got done walking her back or out to youth court, which is good. And there's been a couple times just what my kids are doing is what gives me the most hope of all things. Raising really intelligent daughters who they know to stand up for themselves, and they know what
Hmm.
justice is, and they're not going to tolerate organizations that don't allow women to be in positions of leadership, which is one of my big gripes in the world. And it's just sort of
Yeah.
like, so I think, the more we do that, that's our biggest thing. And I always tell everybody the best way out of what we're facing now, education, the more education of anything, and I always some people, they in their minds, they separate college from trade school. That's all education. And I've told my daughters, become an electrician. That's going to serve you. Earn a professional wage as soon as possible, but always keep learning, always keep studying. And that's the stuff that keeps me going. So yeah, like I said, we're already sidetracked. I'm on my
No,
rant. I'm ready to roll.
that's good. I'm glad that I'd ra- I want to talk about this for a second. We're gonna get sidetracked for a second, but this is a super thanks, honey. I appreciate that. This is a super important point. Is dads with daughters, teach your daughters to stand up for themselves, teach them to be independent. But what I've also found, and what seems to be kind of working with my daughter, is we used to say, you grow up to be a strong, independent woman, you don't need no man. It's grow up to be a strong, independent woman
Yeah.
who wants a partner.
Yes. Yeah, that's
And
good.
that's it. That's it. You
Yep.
want a partner. You want a partner in life. And that's what marriage is. That's what
Yeah.
fatherhood is to a wife, is being a partner. And that's what I'm relearning. And if you guys notice, my poems this week are a little bit more dour and somber than usual. As I'm breaking down my mental walls and I'm trying to actually let it out and talk with my wife and show a good example of what
Yeah.
fatherhood is like. And you need to do that for your daughters so that they also not only hear the words of what it means to protect and defend yourself and stand up for yourself,
Mhm.
but also what it means to have a partner as
Yep.
as a spouse. Be
And
they
we
a
just
man or a woman or other, whatever, whoever you marry or don't marry, find a partner in life. Be your best friend. My wife is my best friend. Like, find a partner and have them in your life, either a friend or a spouse.
Frederick's got something, right? He looks like he's
I,
ready to
I,
go.
like, oh no, I don't. I know, I agree. I mean, like, I was married, when I was in my 20s, and I was struggling with PTSD, and ultimately, it's what
Yeah.
doomed my marriage, and it was because it was just, the thing I say when I talk about it to people is like, I wasn't a bad husband, but I wasn't a good husband either. You know, like
Mm.
because the what we're taught as men was like,
Yeah.
it's the old Chris Rock joke where it's like, "Well, I didn't beat my wife." It's like, "Well, you're not supposed to beat your wife, right?"
Yeah,
It's like,
like that's the
it's like you want
expectation.
credit for stuff you're supposed to
Yeah.
do. It's like,
Yeah.
and I worked, right? I got a job. You're supposed to have a job, right? You're supposed to bring in money.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what I wasn't there for is like, I wasn't consistent, and I wasn't, and because I was struggling with mental health issues that I didn't know I was struggling with, and I
Yeah.
didn't, and I didn't, so like at the end of it, my ex-wife told me, she says, a lot of times I felt like I was your mother, right? And that's
Yeah.
not a and so, the hard part is like, we're taught as men that, oh, you're supposed to struggle alone, like you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. And so what ends up happening is you, you know, you uh, you think that you're being this stoic, I'm not blah blah blah. You're putting your problems will bleed out
Yeah. Yeah.
on your family, on your spouse in ways you're not even thinking about. Right?
There's
You'll snap out with anger.
yeah.
You'll drink too much. You'll be distant, and then people think like you're mad at them when you're not. You're struggling with something else, right? Being non-communicative and not dealing with your problems will create other problems in your life. It just will.
I have a
You
friend
know.
who worked in the fire department, and he wrote a book about this too, and it's just about how, when you're doing things like you're rescuing people, and some of the people you try to rescue, they die. And so you're seeing that, and you're in
Yeah.
the presence of that. And like in that moment, you have to just kind of push through, but you just have to, at some point, you have to go back to that. That doesn't just go away. You see somebody die, you push through, you finish your day. That doesn't go away. You got to then stop and go to that and fix it. And well, or at least it's not going to be fixed. You got to process it. You got to learn to accept it. And it's exactly what you're saying. In his book that he wrote, he's just like, you just are tempted to just keep kicking the can down the road and not addressing those problems again and again and again. And then finally, just it dominates because it gets bigger every time you kick it, and it crushes you at that point. So yeah, just and it's that's what's really frustrating about so much of what's going on in our culture today, where they're making a mockery of like trigger warnings and they mock feelings, and it's
Mhm.
just like it's the same old thing. It's like that stuff is out there. They're just denying all the problems that it caused, and it just builds. And we just you like you said, we need partners to help us through these times because there's going to be days when you are having a hard day.
Yeah, and I mean, even that, it's just kind of like, it's how much you put on your spouse, right? It's, are you there to listen? Are you there to, because again,
Yeah.
there's a difference between, like, and maybe it's not your spouse. Maybe it's like you talk about this with your therapist, and then you talk about like with your spouse is like, hey, yeah, like you don't want to, you got to know the line because you get that through communication where you say, let's say I am a firefighter. My spouse doesn't want to hear about all that horrible stuff because she's
Yeah. Yeah.
empathetic and sends her into something. And she's like, hey, what's wrong? You go, ah, man, I went through some really bad stuff at work. It was bad. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, I thought it might be me. It's like, no, baby, it's not you. I'm
Yeah.
working through it in therapy.
Yeah.
But how are you doing? Like that. It's because what happens is when you become, oh, I gotta carry it. I gotta carry it. You end
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
you become resentful, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do I don't care who you are. Like you will resent it.
Yep.
You
And
will
so much of that.
absolutely resent even people have nothing to do with it because you're like, why the hell do I got to carry all this? Why do I got blah blah blah? And and that bleeds out. You
Yep.
can't hide it,
So
especially with
let's
someone you're trying to be intimate with, who is going to
Yeah.
know your moods and know who you are. Like that, it's going to bleed out. But then the problem is they're going to know that you're upset, but they're not gonna know what about. And they're gonna
It puts
assume,
people
and a
on
lot of
edge.
people assume it's about them,
That
you
energy
know?
so
comes into the house, and yeah, it puts people on edge. It creates anxiety. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
so let's wrap it into a note then, into
Yes.
one of Walter's notes, because yesterday Walter actually wrote a note that fits pretty perfectly into what we're
Oh,
talking
good.
about right now, which is facts become triggering to people who have been indoctrinated by lying patriarchs.
Ah, yeah. I didn't even
And
remember I wrote that.
that and that's the thing is he doesn't even remember he writes his notes because that's why he
Well, he
writes them
writes
so he
so
doesn't
many of
have to
them, they're all
remember it.
bangers. Most of them are
And
bangers, like, and you're just like, "Damn, I wish I could," like, that's why I was like,
Yes, he did.
I'm gonna do the lazy thing and just restack it and be like, "Well, I'm part of this." I want my name right above it. It says, "Richard Code, reset this."
yeah, I like the little notifications when it's like someone liked your repost of Walter Rhine's thing. Yeah, of course they did, because Walter's fucking smart.
Oh,
It's like, I'm
thank
gonna
you.
Um,
restack it and be like, "I'm smart for restacking this
I'm
name."
smart too. I know what I'm doing. I see this person has good
Like,
ideas. I like it.
oh, this is
Um,
perfect though. This is because sometimes you come up with a little thought and you're like, let me convey this as quickly as possible and then revisit it later. So this is ideal for this. Like just kind of talking it over and expanding it because there's a lot to unpack in that little comment there.
yeah, so let's dig into that little comment because it's exactly what we're talking about. Is like as a especially as a man, and we're going to frame a lot of this stuff obviously on men's issues because we are men and we need to talk about them, because if we don't talk about them, the Find Out podcast guys actually talked about this morning, but on a different context, was just like we've figured out in a lot of ways with the manosphere, is they were talking about Al Gore, um not responding to people who challenged him to debates about climate change, and he just
Mm.
sort of ignored it. What it did was it left a vacuum. It left a
Yeah,
vacuum of space for people to come up with whatever excuse they wanted, and people will listen and think
yeah,
of the dumbest and easiest excuse possible. And that's normally some patriarchal dude going, "Hey, follow me. I got
yeah,
your back. I know what I'm doing. You listen to me because men are strong, men big."
yeah, yeah.
And
Weakest
um
weakest dudes in the world. Weakest
Well,
dudes in the world.
and I
and they
was
filled
saying,
the vacuum. And so this is us refilling the vacuum, but from our perspective on a progressive side, where because a lot of your notes also tie into progressive values, because we all here have progressive values. One of those is being sanctity of life and things like that. Is it is triggering for people
yeah,
who don't know how to talk about their emotions, who don't know how to inject their emotions into like themselves, but also put them outward in a way that's healthy.
yeah.
Um, and it
Well,
pushes people away. Do you have any experience with like your like negative emotions that you've thrown around that have pushed people away, and how you've maybe restored some of those relationships?
oh boy, that's a big question. Yeah, and I think a lot of that. There's a big like lifetime arc there because I grew up in our family. Our family reunions. Everyone was always just doing their best to dig. You try to say the
Hmm.
meanest thing to somebody else, and so I
Hold on
like
one
for the
sec.
longest time. Whoa, earthquake! So for the
Fred
longest
is
time,
moving.
I was processing this as like, oh, saying something mean is a sign of affection, and that's what I grew up to believe. Uh-oh, did we lose
Oh,
Frederick? Let's
Fred,
see.
your internet's going.
Okay. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, we
Oh
lost
shit.
Fred.
We gotta
We'll
get
get
him
him
back.
back. When he comes back in the chat, we'll pull him back in.
All right. So yeah, for a long time I grew up with just that idea that it's like the way to express affection is to just say something mean, and if they say something mean back, you just kind of keep doubling down. And
Hmm.
that's fine as long as you're around like kind of broken people all your life. But then I started to recognize it's like, well, there's this other group of kind of like really nice people that for some reason I'm not being able to join their little, circle. And why is that? And so then it's sort of like y- your first reaction is be angry at them, right? And that's what we
Yeah.
see a lot. It's like I think ultimately you see MAGA are mad at progressives and liberals because we reject their open hostility all the time. They're
Yeah.
blatantly disrespectful all the time, and it's like you're looking. There was a little bit I saw on Fox News was mad about Gavin Newsom with his tweets, and it's just like
Doing
how can you with a
exactly
straight
what
face
they do.
yeah, it's like, how with a straight face can you be critical of that when then you turn around and your guy is the most disrespectful, misogynistic, asshole, bad example, bad role model, like just the bottom of the barrel is their guy, and it all comes back to that. It's like I grew up in that situation where oh yeah, we insult each other to show affection, then this group rejects me. So first I'm mad at them, and then it's a long line, and then you finally get to the point. It's like, look, if I want to get into that group, I have to change myself, and I have to start modeling respect and it's a breakthrough. But it's like our society, oh God, and we're all mixed in. We're all mixed in with these people that just think every transgression, every mean thing that they do, oh, I didn't intend to do that. I didn't intend to hurt you. I didn't intend to be mean. So you have to forgive me. But everything you do that offends them, you got to pay for it. And that's the ultimate hypocrisy of what we have to deal with.
Yeah. And
Frederick,
one of our friends, oh, Fred's back. Maybe I'm
he's
gonna
getting
try
there.
and pull him in. I'm gonna just try and pull him in, no matter what. MJ, one of
We're bringing him
my
in.
friends in the chat, she just said actually almost what I was about to say is this idea of that in grade school and when you're little is that
Yeah.
boys, oh, he got a call. He'll be back.
Oh, okay.
Um, and that's life.
Yep.
Boys will do so. Starting back, what we said is that, or what MJ said, and what I was actually about to say was this idea of when boys have a crush on a girl when they're little, they are mean. They
Mhm.
say mean things. They tug on your hair, or you
Yeah.
like tease people. It's not that that is not love. That is not how you show affection. And I think do you have sons or
Two daughters.
Two daughters. Okay. So I have a son too. I have a daughter and a son. So one of the things that I am hopefully going to instill in my son is that that's not love.
Yeah,
Love is not going around and being mean to other people and then them saying, "Oh, but boys just have a crush on you. He's just teasing you." No, he's
yeah,
being mean. Love is showing like if you like the girl, maybe go talk to her.
yeah. You know what? I think what you're talking about though is the symptom of just the Puritan view towards sexuality that this country has, where sexuality, just completely normal sexuality, is weaponized to
Hmm.
make innocent kids feel shame, before they even know what sexuality even is. So,
Yeah.
and it particularly manifests in homophobia. So, like when I was growing up too, it's like being accused of being homosexual. You actually were in fear of that. Like they would hurt you then. Like, and I know that
Yeah, same
we've
when
talked
I
about
was a
this.
kid.
Yeah, and so that's why then the boys are pushed to they punch each other first, and then they punch the girls that they like because they don't want to be accused of being this, effeminate male, and which there is nothing wrong with being, And so I think the more of us who are men who just model affection to other men, and we put aside all the mean talk, and you're just embracing each other, and they see but that the more that becomes normalized, I think like the boy having his first crush and using physical violence, I think that'll start to go away as a consequence of that. The more our whole society embraces just
Yeah. So I'm
healthy
writing a note
sexuality.
almost as we're doing this on the banner and background, just so that I remember what I'm about
Mhm.
to say. So um this ties in really well with something that I was listening to last night, and I cannot remember who was talking about it, but or it was this morning, I don't remember, but it was about men, masculinity, and the idea that we met. Oh, it was a podcast. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I will pull it up. MJ sent me, actually, I'll pull it up right now while I'm thinking about it so I get it right. Is our friend MJ in the chat. Good, very, very wonderful subscriber of mine, and she's sending me some incredibly good resources and people to
Okay.
possibly reach out to. One of those first resources um, was a podcast by David Sirota called
She's
The
got it
Lever.
there. Yep.
Um, yep. And I listened to it yesterday, and it was where have all the deep male friendships gone? Um, and I found it really intriguing because they weren't coming at it from a level of like pity me because we don't have friends, which is where MAGA is. Like they want pity. They want attention for not having
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
They're so friendless and friendshipless
Yeah.
that they are playing victim. They're choosing to be victims rather than doing a simple thing of which is hard to do is go out and make friends. But one of the things they were talking about it on the show was President Abraham Lincoln, who ended slavery, who helped end slavery. Probably one of the most masculine things you could do is free an entire group of people from being enslaved by your group of people and providing them rights. That's
Yeah.
masculine.
Yeah.
That's masculine. Lincoln used to send letters to his best friend,
Yeah.
male friend, that would be nowadays considered what we would use or term as love letters. They weren't. It was just him sending letters to his best friend. Our
Yeah.
founders did the same thing. Men generations before used to send letters to their friends where it was like, to my dearest friend, your heart beats with mine. I
Yeah.
miss you. You are a wonderful full source of light in my life. Like we used to praise each other. Men used to bring their best friend on their honeymoon with their wife.
Wow.
And like they would go out for beers with their best friend and then come back and spend time with their wife without their best friend.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that? Like, do you think it might be that because you're talking about like this idea that we're lonely in a way, but it's self-isolation in a lot of ways. And it bleeds out into negative emotion, do you think
Yeah.
maybe a simple step could be we start writing letters to our friends or maybe sending them flowers or just doing something nice?
I think that is a good thing. I remember when I graduated from college, one of my friends made me a cake, and he's just like, "Yeah, I made you a cake," and I'm just like, "This is great," and he was just like, "I want to show the world." He was just kind of all into it. It was just kind of funny and sweet. But I think what you're saying is really important too, because we accept our reality. The reality we're born into, and until you're 15 or so, you're just kind of struggling to make sense of the world. And I've struggled with this too, as you know, my perception of the injustices in our society have grown. It's like you ask yourself and you kind of recriminate yourself. Why didn't I notice these things before? But you do have to treat yourself a little bit of grace, because you're just trying to survive for a while. And then you kind of come into your own and you see things. But what we don't understand too is that there's another level, that how much different things were 50 years ago or 100 years ago. And I think the best way to emphasize or underscore what you're talking about is just travel. You go to another culture and you see how people behave. Because when I lived in South America, when I lived in Peru, the male relationships there were a lot more affectionate, than what I'd ever seen in the United States. And I always thought, it started with it's common to just hug upon a greeting, and the ladies will kiss you on the cheek. And it was just that willingness to just be more openly affectionate like that. And what is it? And the other thing you're saying too, when people are like, pity me, but if your life is not going the way you want, the best thing you can do is look in the mirror. The one thing you
Yes.
have the most control over is yourself. And if you don't like the way things are, before you start blaming the rest of the world, which will take a really long time to change, find one thing you can do differently that day and do it. And then you can be scientific about this process, do
Hmm.
something different. But like you said, just if nobody likes you, just do a nice thing for somebody and don't ask for anything in return. Open the door for people. I say that to people. I do that all the time. I try to do that. Oh, just hold the door for somebody. Just these basic acts of courtesy for other people. And they just, a lot of times people will walk through and not say anything. That's fine. Some people are just like, "Oh, thank you." It's actually pretty rare that people see a moment like that and are just like, "Oh, thank you." But it makes an impact even if they say nothing. These random
Hmm.
acts of kindness change the world. They really do.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where you never know what somebody's going through, and you never
Yeah.
know if what you're doing really does just change their life or change their day. And the thing about empathy is you don't need the response. You don't need the reward back. You're not looking for something in return. There's a piece I wrote
Yeah.
a long time ago. At this point now, I'll pull it up and drop it in the chat. Um, is called "What's Love Got to Do with It?" Um, and this was one of the first things I wrote. It's Hopefully you guys like it, and maybe it'll get more than 50 views at this point. But it's one of the first things I wrote, and I didn't really have any followers at the time. And I wrote it for myself. Um, it was about my brother, um, and probably both my brothers at this point. Um, because one I have made a really, really nice, loving relationship with. And a year ago, someone probably would have described him as MAGA, which he's not. He's not MAGA. Yes, he voted for Trump, and that's his decision, but he's not MAGA. He's been brainwashed and lied to a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's older than me. He's 14 and a half years older than me. Um, and so I never grew up with my brother. And then there was
Yeah.
like 14 years where we didn't even talk because of something stupid that happened that I wasn't even really a part of at the time, but I became part of it. And it led to almost 15 years of us not speaking.
Yeah.
But like a year and a half ago, we reached back out in a lot of ways, even actually longer than that now, couple years now. And we met at my parents' house. I had my family with us. It was a lot of us there. Um, and he said something incredibly nice to my daughter in a moment of just total
Yeah.
innocence and openness and
Mhm.
lovingness. And I've decided that I just want to love him back and give him
Yeah.
love without the expectation or want of anything really in return. I don't want my brother to to give me anything back. I don't need anything from him. I would love his love back, which I have, which I know I have. But I didn't ask for it. I didn't demand it. I just came in empathetic and just said, "Hey, maybe you need a little bit of love, and I need a little bit of love, and I need to show you. And maybe we need to start modeling that for our sons better." And I do a really bad job at it, even as much as I work on it and as much as I talk about it, it's still really hard. Like,
Yeah.
can you talk about it from the viewpoint of just having girls? Now, and I'm assuming your girls are a bit older than my kids at this point.
Yep. I've got a sophomore and one going into seventh grade.
Oh,
You know,
almost the same. Your daughter is your youngest is the same age as my oldest, then roughly. So
oh, okay.
no, not really that
Yeah.
much difference. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's good because we can. No, that helps connect too even more for us because now we can talk
Yeah.
about
Ah,
like middle school or junior high school
oh boy.
and like
Yeah.
how that is impact going to be impacting at some that doesn't have to be today's conversation, but that's going to be a huge impact.
Yeah.
Um, and relating this back to the note, we I picked out a
Uh,
note today from Walter, and I want to make sure that it gets put back in because we're talking about notes today. Is Walter put in a note yesterday, and I'll reread it. Is facts become triggering to people who have been indoctrinated by lying patriarchs?
mm,
That's pretty much the frame of this part of this whole
yeah.
conversation today. Um, so what are your thoughts on that? Like
Well,
any of what I said? No
there's a lot to
real,
say. I've been
yeah.
sitting here making notes, so let me go. But one of the things I
And we're
think,
gonna pull
though,
Fred back in too.
good. I wrote an article. I'll just get going until Fred gets going. But I wrote an article recently about how the people are down in a deep dark hole. You know, Eh, they don't know how much different life can be. There he is. He's back.
Sorry about that. That was
No, you're
I,
good, brother.
that was one of those calls. You're like, oh, I have to take this.
Well,
Yeah,
good.
I
I'm glad he's back.
I
absolutely.
literally ended my live yesterday that I was doing with Talk because the VA called me and I was like, "Oh shit, gotta go, y'all. Bye.
Yeah. No,
Thanks,
it
everyone.
was
Have a
funny.
great day."
Like this was a call. It was a business call. I had to take it, and then the VA's calling me. This is how important it was. Like the VA's calling me. I was like, nope, you're going to voicemail. It's like I'm not switching. Like no.
No, no, don't
Mm.
do it. Don't go to voicemail like that.
And the
They need to
VA's like,
answer this.
well,
Oh
we'll just
boy.
screw with your life for everything that you have. I was like,
Well,
do it.
we just won't give you answers. You'll just never get a call back from us. You didn't want to
Mm.
answer our one call? Well, your appointment
Oh,
is now 6 fucking months later. I
wow.
say that from experience and a lot of hatred on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where it's
That needs to be
No.
fixed.
Anyway, back to the patriarchy that
Yeah.
is demanding so much from all of us and Walter's note around it
My
because
God.
it's really impactful and this is the frame of the whole conversation about parenting, about the
Yeah.
daughters. And Walter and I were getting into while you were gone, Fred, just there about the like school a little bit and how because our daughter, one of his youngest and my oldest are the same age, basically. So they're going into really near the same grades. They are going to be experiencing a lot of the same changes um, as each other, probably both biologically and through the fascism that's here. And we got to talk about it. We got to face it as dads and as just
Yeah.
friends of people who have kids or uncles or um, if you have a kid in your life that you know and love, like maybe pay attention to what's going on just a little closer.
I
And
mean,
we're
and
gonna.
I think, yeah, as a as a man, like, people look at you like, and it's not just like, oh, well, the boys look up to you. It's like, no, girls do too, right? And they internalize things of like, it's that whole, well, she has daddy issues. It's like, no, her father treated her a certain way, and that was what she was used to.
Yeah.
It.
Yeah.
I remember reading an article from Liz Plank, and she made an excellent point. Where she said, like, women my age, a little younger, so I'm in my late 40s. and I think it's just women in general is like because of the patriarchy and women are like we're all victims of it, but we're victims in different ways. And women are especially, abused and victimized by the patriarchy. They come front loaded with a lot of damage when they start dating. And so like the thing you have to be cognizant of is twofold is you're going through therapy so you don't keep repeating the same trauma, right? That you revisiting on these women, and part of it's like it sucks because it fucks us all up, right? We're prepared, like, and that's why it's so big and so hard to break. That's why all these notes and like what you said is, I think we started this line when you said like it's facts get these people up in the patriarchy all
Yeah.
upset or
Yeah.
something to that effect.
Yep.
And it's factual. But the thing is, we're so conditioned to be in this fucked up false sense of reality, right? It's why I
Yeah.
say all the time,
Yep.
you got to treat women like people. And why that seems like it's like, well, duh,
Such a simple concept.
but it's not though,
Yeah.
because what we do is you say, what you hear all the time is we got to treat women like women and men like men. That's patriarchal thinking because
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're front loaded with this, women are less than, even if you don't say it, but you're conditioned to think it, right? They're supposed to be homemakers. They're supposed to be nurturers. They're supposed to be mothers. They're supposed to be this.
Yeah.
You
But we all are.
exclude all the other possibilities from women, right? You exclude all that because you're not treating them like people. You're treating them like women on what your concept of what you think a woman is, or you got to treat men like men. Okay, so what that means is men aren't allowed to feel. Men have to shoulder the burden. Men have to be stoic. The only things we're allowed to feel is anger and lust. And that
Yeah.
we can't feel the full range of emotions. And that's why I say you treat women like people, you treat men like people, right? Because with people, you are allowed to feel, you can be a whole, like, just even the phrase people are people, you are allowed to expand the definition of what people are allowed to be, you know?
I want to say too. I wrote an article because we get this wrong. I mean, our activism is often wrong, and I wrote this article about how the people who lived their whole life in a deep dark hole, they don't know what they're missing out on. And
No,
so like if you've seen the whole universe and you come along and you shout, "Hey, people down there, come up here into the light and enjoy it." And they're just like, "No, we're good down here." You can't then say, "Okay," and walk off or be mad if they don't support the things. And this gets back to you have now an obligation to show them how much they don't know how much they're suffering. They've sat there and adapted to this awful reality. They don't know how miserable it is. And so this is what gets me really frustrated tying it back into politics. When you see the Democrats get mad and say, "Well, why don't they vote for us? Our way is better." It's like they don't know that
they
it's
don't know.
better. We have to reach out to them and convince them. And when you get this, and it's the same petulant pity me BS, you get that from the Democratic Party when they start getting mad. We blame the voters. I fight with people for saying that all the time. It's like there's no faster way to lose than to blame the voters. If you're not winning elections, you have to get out and show people, you have to combat the false narratives that lead to these people being deliberately misled. It's up to you then. You can't just sit there and be mad and say, "Well, why can't they say our way is better?" They literally can't. They're
You're
deep
de-
down,
Mhm.
underground, buried. They've been lied to. They're entrapped. It's our responsibility to get them out, show them a better way.
you're dealing
Yeah,
you're
and
dealing with. Go
this
ahead,
goes
man.
into a comment somebody made, and then go right ahead, Fred. Is Rachel made a comment, and we have generational trauma from millennia of patriarchy,
Yeah.
and we are the generation. We are the generations. The generations, because it's a generational movement to do this.
Mhm.
It's going to take boomers. It's going to take Gen X. It's going to take Gen Y. It's going to take Gen Z. It's going to take Gen Alpha when they're there too. But it's going to take the four leading generations that are still alive to break the patriarchy and undo a millennia of trauma and a
Mhm.
millennia of work that needs to be done. And we're going to do it fast and we're going to do it hard. And when movements die, just like churches and religions in general or fascist regimes, when movements die and they're backed into a corner, they lash out the hardest before
Extinction
they
burst.
die.
Yeah.
You,
It's extinction
we
burst.
have to withstand the burden.
Yeah. And I
But
think we need to
millennials get
understand.
left out of everything, Rachel. So I just pretend. Actually, I didn't. Well, I think we're Gen Y.
Who knows?
I don't actually fucking know.
All that stuff
Oh
is
no,
just
maybe
marketing
Gen
anyway.
X.
It's
Maybe
just
we're Gen
marketing.
X. I don't fucking know.
I'm Gen X.
I just know that millennials and Gen Y and Gen Z and Gen X and all of the folks who are taking up the torches and who have kids that are still children and who are still young need to take up the torch and actually fucking do the thing that's important. And one of those first steps, tying it back to our what we said earlier, with the note, is we can break down the patriarchy. One simple way, maybe, is for men to start writing notes and letters to their friends
Yeah.
again. Send or bake them a damn cake, or buy them
Yeah.
fucking flowers, or tell your guy friend you love them, or that you miss them, or that your heart beats with theirs while they
Yeah.
are gone because they are a part of you and you care about them, like President Abraham fucking Lincoln did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, I
be
mean,
like
let's
Lincoln.
be real.
Be like Lincoln.
That's probably some gay stuff, though. Let's be real. Yeah, I mean,
Nah.
What's wrong with
And
that?
no,
I ain't saying nothing
that's what
wrong
the
with it, but I'm
no,
just
I know
saying
you didn't. I know you
it's
didn't,
some
brother.
gay stuff. You know,
But that's the
I'll give you a big
patriarchy we're gonna
superhero
break
here.
down. Like that's the patriarchy I think we're
Big
breaking
old
down
fan of you.
is Fred says it in jest, but people say it
Yeah.
in serious to others is, well, no homo, or but I
Pause.
don't want to be gay. Well,
Well,
shut
yeah.
the fuck up, man. I know you're not gay. Like, I'm not falling in love with you because you wrote me a fucking letter. Like,
yeah.
you're my friend, dude. It's okay. I said, like, my wife, who is my best friend, we buy each other flowers. Like, why can't I
Yeah.
do that for my brother-in-law or my other best friends?
No, I think I agree with you to a point. Like, you know, I think the thing that I think it's a yes and. I think you're right, but I think it's a yes and because I think part of you say this all the time, Nick, whereas like definitions matter, right?
Yes.
And I still use very masculine leaning language, right? Where I refer to President Trump as weak. I refer
Hmm.
to like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is strong, and here's the reason for that, right? Is it's about putting like one thing I learned in history is it's about specificity. We're trying to get as close to reality with the language we use as possible. Okay. So here's the thing. I tell folks, like from my experience, especially young men, okay, if you're collapsing and you go get help and you go to like a therapist or you reach out, do you know how strong that is? That's not weak. That is
Yeah.
strength because you're realizing, man, I can't hang with this, bro. Like I can't carry this. I need some help because it's because we're so conditioned to
Yes.
not do that,
Yeah.
and it takes
Yeah.
strength to
Yeah.
overcome this conditioning. It takes strength to deprogram, right? And what Nick is talking about is part of that deprogramming, right? Maybe you're not going to give flowers to your guy friend. Maybe you're not going to write him a letter, and that's okay. But you need to say, "Hey, man, I'm glad you're here, bro. I'm glad we're friends, man. I mean, I'm glad that we can look out for each other."
And
That's an
overcoming the
expression of emotion, right? It doesn't always have to be broy. It doesn't always have to be, hey,
yes.
we're confined in masculinity and just talking about beer and women's butts,
Mhm.
right? That's all.
Yeah.
Can't talk about this. Can't talk. It's like,
Can't talk
you
about your
can't say,
feelings, bro.
it's like, hey, man, I bought this poetry book from, Sonia Ringo, man. It's poetry's dope, bro. It's like, what are you gay? It's like, no, I like poetry and I like hip hop. It's poetry. So it doesn't have anything to do
Yeah.
with my sexuality. And what's wrong with being gay? And so the thing is, it's a lot of men,
Yeah.
especially young men, are terrified and that's why, and it's a self reinforcement. And all you got to do is be the first one to step out and be like, bro, it's okay if you like to crochet, you know?
I think you'd find
Yeah,
though too.
man.
I've found if you open up to people, even if you think that they're like this real, if you open up to another man, they're likely is not. They're going to be grateful that that somebody finally did it. You know, I've
Yeah.
had that happen a few times. I've come up and I'm just like, I need some
That,
help, and they will be there for you. You'll find that if you normalize it, things change
yeah,
quickly.
that's such a big point too. Is like, if you normalize it,
They
people
desperate for it.
do it.
Yeah.
And what Fred was saying is like, it's okay to use masculine or feminine language words
Yeah.
because that's the way our language is structured. Like, we can't control that right now. Like, eventually we can modify language because language, just like everything else, evolves because, evolution is real. We don't believe in the idea that we were
Yeah.
created 2000 years ago when some dude named
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Yay, I came back from the dead." No, we don't. We don't buy into the nonsense because that's conspiratorial crap.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Masculinity
masculinity
can
is admitting that you have a problem and working to fix it. Because how
masculinity
can you
cannot
protect and defend if you're broken and you're unwilling to fix yourself?
Yeah.
masculinity cannot be based on exclusion. It can't
Yeah.
be.
Mhm. It
Yes.
has
Right?
to be
And
It
inclusion
cannot
based.
be it cannot be based on exclusion. So you can't
yeah.
because what makes you a strong man is the very same thing that can make a woman strong, right? There are not traits that are exclusively male and female, right? When we're talking about morality,
Mhm.
because really with male and female, all we're talking about is probably some of the least interesting things about us in the sense of it's just biology, bro.
Yeah.
Everything else is a gender construct, right? And then this is how, and that's the thing, is part of this is how you sneak this. I mean, because feminist theory is more, it's radicalism in the sense of it's a rejection of the status quo. It is a rejection of oppression. And why you should support feminism, even if you don't call yourself that, is if you are a revolutionary and if you are trying to make change, then that's you support these things. At least listen to them, right? So
Yeah.
what you're trying to do as a man is deprogram. What you're trying to do, so you deprogram so you can evolve and you can grow and you can expand, right? It's like I don't want every single man to be like me. I don't want every single man to talk like me. I don't we need to create space for our, for trans men. We need to create space for gay men. We need to
Mhm.
that's why
Yeah.
when I've tongue in cheek said with Abraham Lincoln, oh, that's some gay
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
We need to, if that's the truth, we need to learn that
Yeah.
Yeah.
because what that means is one of the greatest presidents we've ever had that held the union together was gay,
Yeah.
and there's
And if he
nothing wrong with
was,
that.
yeah, and if he was, fucking awesome. Because
Yeah.
And if that's
then
the
we can
truth,
go back in time and fix our history and say we as a country elected a gay president, which by the way, we
who couldn't
already
be,
have. And it wasn't
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln, it was Buchanan, and he's a fucking asshole. And that's why nobody likes to talk about him because he
but
sucked. He
and
was
then
a
so
shitty president, just
and
like
part of that
most of them because they're rich white dudes.
and part of that lesson was if he was gay, either one of them, they couldn't be out in who they were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
because
that's
it
not
wasn't
something we want to
acceptable.
repeat.
That's not
And what I
freedom.
would say,
No.
and it's like what I would say is like, listen, man, if you're like, oh, I'm not a sheeple, I'm not this, then why do you allow yourself to be lied to, brother? Why do you allow yourself to? They're making a slave of your mind, man,
Yeah.
because they're not telling you the truth. And it's worse. They're obfuscating the truth from you. They are hiding the truth from you.
Yep.
You
They're
And
know,
that's what I
purposely
wanted to get
lying to
into.
you.
And that's what I wanted to get into in that note. And the big thing I fear, though, is because we know the authoritarian model, the hyper masculine model, when they're challenged, they become angry and they're supposed to leer over
Hmm.
you. And
we
so, but the problem
We,
is that as a society, we respond to that because these patriarchs get mad about evolution. So then there's places where they don't teach evolution in school. Are you fucking kidding me? And we can't get to that point where we think we have an obligation out of some distorted sense of propriety that we can't speak facts just because they make people that are mentally ill angry. And that's why that brings me back to just like the openly thing. Look, the Pope was selected. They did not even compete against women because they don't even consider women for that job. Doesn't matter
Nope.
how great that Pope is. Maybe there's 10,000 candidates that were women that are going to be better. And I challenge everybody because it's like people like they start getting jittery when I say this. But if you go to a church that doesn't ordain women, what the hell are you doing? You can't support institute. They have to ordain women. If they don't allow women to be leaders, it's like if they can't withstand having leaders, it's like if the men of that church are so weak and so incompetent, that they can't take on equal competition from both sexes, then they're not very good. You shouldn't be going there. And I think women can create life. So if anybody should be spiritual, if those should be our spiritual guides, it should be women. And this makes me just enraged. And
Yeah.
the number of good people I see that are like, I still go to a church that excludes women from leadership. I don't know. That frustrates me too.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
here's
like
here's
one of
here.
the reasons I left religion in general was because, and I'm agnostic. I don't believe, but I also leave it open if there is one. Great, like cool. My acts on earth better be what they judge me on, and not the fact
Yeah.
that I wanted to get into a heaven. Like I don't care about heaven. I want to be good where I'm at.
Yeah.
But
How
if
how
the
can
whole the
Go
whole
ahead.
point of that is like everyone's like commenting on this in all of this and is so happy about that. This itself too is the heart of the trans people in sports argument is it doesn't fucking matter
Yeah.
because they're
No.
people. If
Right.
you cannot compete against them as the gender they
Yeah.
are. Because when you go through gender,
Yeah.
and I know this is a long explanation, and I know that the Find Out Guy podcast guys actually talked about this exactly this morning, and they said almost this exact same thing: is it doesn't matter because they should be able to compete in sports, and it's not a
Yeah.
discussion that matters right now. Not because I don't love my friends in the transgender community, but because I value them as people already, and I think they should be included no matter what.
Yeah.
But sports in general are less important than my neighbor disappearing off the street.
Well,
Sports
here.
are less important than watching my friends disappear or die from suicide because their
Mhm.
health care has been ripped away from them, because they are killing all of us, because our trans siblings are getting hurt the same as we are, and we need to stop pretending there's a difference. Fred said it so well. Language might be masculine and feminine, but people aren't. People are just people. We put masculine and feminine on people. Stop
Yep.
putting your own insecurities on other people.
Yeah.
Just
And
because you're afraid that you might be gay or something doesn't mean you should go out and hurt gay people.
I think a lot of this is like, here's where I'll take a different little tack from, because I hear this a lot where it's like, well, we should focus on this, and I think it's a yes and, because often we don't approach every issue we approach it with right wing framing, and part of what we
Yeah.
have to do is break
Yeah.
that frame. We have to
Yeah.
smash that framing. So how you say it is like, well, what do you think about trans people in sports? It's like, are okay. Let me ask you this. We'll have this debate, but let's start here. Are trans people to you? If we don't agree with that, we can't have this debate.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
just end the discussion. And that's the thing too, is like when I was listening to the Find Out podcast this morning, this is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this at this point now too, is they brought up that they brought up that exact same thing. It's what Gavin Newsom learned from listening to people who said, hey, don't fucking hate on trans people. And you know what he did? He stopped talking about it. He stopped talking about that issue because people pushed back on him and said, dude,
Yeah.
that's fucking gross and
Yep.
and just transphobic. And I hate the word transphobic because you can't be afraid of trans people. You're just an asshole and a bigot. And what it's we need to just get past this idea and just say, no, I don't buy your argument. Trans people are people. And we're going to talk about something else because that's not an
Yeah.
issue that impacts
Yeah.
you. Like,
Here's
are you trans? Does this hurt you? Are you in sports right now? Is this impacting you? No, shut the fuck up. But you
Yeah.
know what is
well,
your
here.
healthcare is getting ripped away by Republicans,
So
and they're trying to kill us.
I think trying to do the pivot, honestly, it never works. And so this is what I did when Gavin Newsom came out with the trans thing, right? And they weighed into this. Is you say, I had a video and I wrote an article about it. I said, trans people are people, full stop. That's where the Democratic Party needs to be. Trans people are people, full stop. We support them, we back them, because we are a party of civil rights. And if you don't think trans people deserve full civil rights with us, that's it.
Yeah.
Get
I'm
out of the
not willing to
conversation.
entertain any other discussion. Same thing
Yeah.
with
You're
women.
right.
I'm not.
I-
No, it's not about being wrong. It's like the thing about it is we got to break this program because we always fall into the right. It's like
It's
because
first
But we
decay.
can't
We
leave
have
a
to
vacuum.
protect everybody. If you
Yeah,
start
and we
yeah,
can't
censoring
leave a
people, you're
vacuum.
done.
Yeah.
we
The
always
thing is,
fall.
we
We
have to
fall into
stop
this
doing the
trap.
vacuum. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
fall into this trap time and time again, and it's part of the Republican strategy is
Yes.
they want to change the debate, and so
Yeah.
because
We let
someone's
'em
like,
win.
"Well, I care about sports. Well, I care about this." It's like, okay, so here's the
Yeah.
deal: the discussion we're supposed to be having on this is like, what do we do about trans people in sports? I will entertain that discussion if you say
Yeah.
trans people are people, and then the discussion is based on how do we integrate them so they can feel included in these sports. If you do not
Yeah.
agree that trans people are full people and deserving of civil rights fully, we cannot entertain this conversation because that is,
Yeah.
I'm not going to accept anything less than
Yes.
that. Because by
Yeah.
denying them their personhood, by denying them their civil rights, you are hurting mine. You are hurting women's. You are,
Yeah.
it is an all or nothing. In that, it's
Yep.
like they proved it with civil rights. They've proved it with the women's movement. They were proving it again with LGBTQ. That you cannot accept anything less but full equality. That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And if you're
And what
not
you're
willing to
saying,
do that, I'm not willing to have that conversation with you. I'm just here to oppose you. You
That's a
know,
good point.
that's
and
it.
you're absolutely,
You know,
and this all feeds into that, the fact that we've conditioned ourselves that we have to be polite and back down so we don't provoke the patriarchs and their lies. And they've been
Mhm.
conditioned to believe these lies. So we retreat in advance and we are allowed to challenge these things. Like on the issue, last year, my kids were in a co ed sports team. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
it's a
what's wrong
co-ed
with that?
sports team. Who gives a shit? And like my daughter in her mile in school, she beat all the boys in her class running the mile. She got done and she was proud of that for days. But it's like this they can just bring them on, bring them in. Well, my girls would be happy to take that competition. I don't care what you are. Let's just lace them up and go out and play. And it's just sort
Yeah.
of like just a weird approach to sports, like the sanctity of sports. It's like the idea is to go out and have fun, to play with honor. And if you lose, you say good job. You don't, claim it was cheating and try to overthrow the government. You model accountability. You model good sportsmanship. And the fact that we have sports on this platform to begin with, I think that's a consequence of the fact that we don't have free access to education. So many people in these rural areas, they're like, the only way we can ever, maybe not die in misery is if I make it to the NBA. And so they're out of their mind with the way this unhealthy approach to sports. Co-ed
I, I
sports are fun.
I find it
Ellie just put
very
it up.
very
Oh,
convenient. I find it
Yeah.
very convenient that all the arguments are exactly the same for trans folks exclusion from sports that they used against black folks from playing with white folks.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And when they had the Negro
Or
leagues for base,
Chinese people when
yep,
they integrated, or
they're
Japanese people
they're
when they put
they're
them in internment
exactly the
camps.
same. They're
It's
exactly
all
the
the same.
same.
And I
It
went
is
and looked up.
exactly the same.
And
And our
Ellie put in
country
a
doesn't. We don't admit how athletic our women athletes are too. I went and looked up like the NCAA times for the mile. Like the men were a little faster than the top women, but the top women were faster than probably about 95% of the men. So it's sort of like, it's like, and I know from experience, I used to be a cross country skier that they'd always whip me. All the women would. So it's this protection argument, and it's just complete nonsense.
Do
And
you
it's
know? Do
also
you know
like
which? You
look
know
at
which
we want
jersey?
to talk about hold on,
Do you
we
know
want to
which?
talk about sports though, is which US national teams for soccer has won
Yeah,
the World Cup the
Oh,
absolutely.
most
I'll
Absolutely.
do you.
times?
I'll do you one better. Do
The
you know?
women. 4. They've won it 4 fucking times. They are the best in the world.
I'll do you one. I'll do you
Period.
one better.
Our men's soccer team can't even qualify half the
Yeah.
fucking
No,
time.
I'll
And we have a
They got
bigger
equal pay
population
too.
than most, and we lose to fucking tiny ass
Yeah.
countries. What the fuck, man? You
I'll-
guys suck.
I'll do
I
you
was
one.
better in high school.
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better. Do you know who overtook LeBron James as the jersey that sells most
Most sold?
internationally?
Good.
Caitlin
Caitlin
Clark.
Clark. Yeah, she's fucking awesome. And she
Speaking
came
of the
out just
women,
being a normal fucking person. Like everybody's like, oh,
yeah,
she's a white girl. She got to be MAGA. She got to be all hate. She's like, nah. Like, what are you talking about? I just want to play basketball.
the
Yep.
women's national soccer team actually fought, and I believe they ended up getting equal pay to the men, and it was just that was ongoing. They're just like,
It
well, we
was
win.
so yeah.
We're the
I
ones who
remember
win.
this
You guys,
happening.
because
They
at the
had
time
to.
they were getting like 1/10 of what the male team were getting. They're like, hey, look at this.
Yeah, the
So good for
men's
them. That was
team
a big fight.
actually did something good and they protested too. They demand the only reason that it happened, which is stupid that it took this to do. And this is where the patriarchy has to be fought by men because it's our place to fight back. But it sucks that when the women's team spoke up and said something, it didn't get fixed right away anyway, because it was just wrong.
Yeah.
Because women versus
Yep.
men. And if you
Yep.
look at all the sports leagues and people are like, yeah, but it's about viewership and yada yada. No, it's
Yeah.
not. It's not. LeBron
Yeah.
James does not deserve like almost 100 times more than Caitlin Clark gets, or any of the best players in the women's basketball league. The women's soccer team should have never had to fight that fight, but then the
Yeah.
men's team stepped in and said,
Mhm.
stepped in beside them,
Yeah. So
not
they get
to
credit too.
not to take their limelight, but because they said the only way it's going to get fixed is if we also show that we care. And they did. And they were like, hey, fix this shit. And it did. They were like, we're not going to play. And you know what? We were going really, really well at that time. The US men's team was actually doing kind of well. And they would have gone downhill had they not done what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some of the biggest supporters now that are using their privilege and status to increase visibility for the WNBA are NBA superstars on the men's side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go to the games, they cheer them
Yeah.
on. You know, they they donate their time. Some of them donate their money. You know,
'Cause it's a
and
team
they're
sport.
in the fight for getting fair pay for the women that are playing now. And you know, and the other thing is too, who is the biggest increase in viewership for the WNBA? It's men, young men,
Yeah.
right? Because again, men like sports, women's sports. You
Yeah.
know, some of the most popular UFC fighters today are women,
Yeah.
right? It's like women's sports is like that's what's scaring the shit out of the patriarchy, because women's sports are getting as popular as men's sports, in some cases even more popular. And it's like, once that happens,
Yep. They're afraid of it. They're afraid of it
you
because
change the culture. You
yeah,
change the
because
culture.
we have this stupid fear that for some reason women are less than, because
Yeah.
guess what, guys? Women are people.
But that's
we're gonna
why
have
they're
to,
fighting. That's why they're fighting so
that's why
hard
they're
with the
fighting
trans
so
stuff.
hard.
Because
It's
once
because
you get
they're
the trans
dying.
folks in there, once they get in
So,
there and they start competing, they go, wait a minute, this isn't a big deal.
uh-oh. It's
You know, they've been
Uh-oh.
in the Olympics. You
uh-oh.
know how
And
long
this
it's
is
been
it.
allowed? Transgender athletes have been in the Olympics since like 2004, I think it is. And it's just sort of like I looked it up. I'm not quite sure the number. It's longer than you think, and it's just not an issue. You know, it's just
No,
not.
it's
It's like
not.
to qualify
Remember
at that
when gay
level.
marriage? Remember when gay marriage was supposed to ruin our country, and we've had it for like what 10 years or so legally
Yeah.
in some places, and it's like, oh wow, like okay, because
Yeah,
I
like,
used to make the
oh,
joke.
look, they're happy now and normal.
I used to
But
make the joke. I said, gay marriage is not going to make gay marriage
yeah.
equal. So I said this to a bigot once at work, and I said, you know what'll make gay marriage equal? The first gay divorce, because then they'll be miserable like the fucking
Oh, there
rest
you
of us. They can't be going around being married and
go.
happy and never
Yeah.
getting divorced. Their marriages will be
That ain't
better than
fair.
ours.
That ain't
You know?
fair. I
Yeah.
want to be happy too. That's what we
Yeah.
all were like. We were all like, oh, they're going to be, the problem was we were all like, they're going to be so much happier than us because they just look so happy. And we were all like, we're boring straight people.
Yeah.
And they just, that's why it's okay to admit to yourself too, as a man, that if you look at another man and you see them attractive in any way, that's cool, dude.
Yeah.
It's okay to think other men are attractive too. Just just let yourself live, bro. Like just chill, dude. Like take a chill pill, as they used to say, and just relax. And Walter, I want to give you the last words because we're a little over time.
Okay.
And I don't and I have a we have a coming up interview with Chris Goldsmith
Oh, you're
on
good.
the Banner and
All right.
Backbone Network
All right.
in about 25 minutes, that I want everyone to be able to come over to too. So Walter, I want to give you the time to close it out. Thank you so much for coming on with us. And before we close out, let's stop being sick of this shit, y'all. Let's do some shit. And Walter's
Yeah.
helping us there. So Walter,
Yeah.
take it away, brother.
Well, thank you guys so much for this time. This lovely conversation. Always great to see Frederick and you too, Nick. And I just want to say, it's like I think the big takeaway here is we're going to expect resistance, and we can't surrender in advance. You can't stop yourself from saying the truth just because you know some assholes are going to think it's impolite. It's never impolite to speak the truth. And what's hidden in all this, and maybe taking back the narrative, like Frederick was talking about before, was what we should do is talk about how good women are at sports. Like they're so darn good at it, and that just keeps getting shuffled under. Like the megas, like, well, any man on a team is going to dominate. That is not the. You would get your
That's not the
ass
case.
kicked on. You'd get your ass kicked on those teams. You would not score a point against it. And so it's just like this reality, and like we're seeing how good they are, and all these they are
Hmm.
for watching. That's giving more economic power to these women. It's another pathway out of poverty for a lot of people. So all that is great. But yeah, those of us watching, just have the courage to speak the truth. If it makes and expect resistance, don't be frustrated because resistance is going to be there, and we just have to keep eroding it. Your erosion, and that's what we're going to do. Erosion always wins.
Walter,
It
I love that. Go ahead, Fred.
No, if I was on a team with Kelsey Plummer, man, you'd see me on the bench going, "Good job, baby. You're doing good."
Yeah,
Like,
you're doing great. I'm gonna sit here because I
We're
can't
number
fucking
one.
play
that's
man.
it. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get it. You fucking go. But
that's it. You know,
Yeah.
What Walter said and what Fred has been saying throughout all of this, really, I guess I'm gonna close this out now. Because you gave me such a good idea at the end, is like Fred said, is reframe the argument, reframe the words so that it's no longer a negative. Like, let's stop talking in the negative and let's start it's being for something. So let's be
Yeah.
for women and equality by showing it,
Yep.
by
Celebrate
doing
every
the
victory.
do.
and just like
Celebrate every victory.
the transports issue, it's like it's not. I'm not saying, and I want to clarify. It's not saying not talking to him. It's resetting the debate,
Yes.
right? So
Hmm.
you say, "Listen, do you agree that trans people are
Good
people?"
point.
Well, no, because okay, so we can't have the
We're
transathlete
done.
debate yet. We're going to have this debate. I'm going to debate you on trans people being people. I'm going to
Yep.
debate you on women being people. And if they're people, they
That's
come with X,
important.
Y, and Z. So it's what you. The trick is you reframe that debate. You don't debate. You don't have the debate they want. You have the debate you want. And that's what you do. You know.
All right.
So
That is
Team
what I have
control.
to say, is going from being sick of this shit to doing this shit. Let's go,
Yeah.
friends. Thanks, y'all. Have a
thank you
Thank
great
you.
guys.
morning, and we'll see you soon.
Bye bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Walter. Thanks, Fred.